insight on what's happening out there, how you can use it for your own business, and great statistics, just backing up really what has happened and why, and where we're going with all that. It's very hard on a day-to-day basis, whatever your role is or your job, to keep track with all this, because it's literally changing every month. Platforms are new, some are old, what is best. So you kind of touched on all of this. I'm sure you won't be disappointed and have all the information that you were hoping for after this. There'll be some questions at the end, so if you have any questions, go ahead, write them down, and we'll take, even if they're very specific to your business. Joe's here to help. And without no more delay, I will have him start. Thank you, everybody. Have a nice day. Thank you.
So thank you, everyone, for coming today. Obviously, the goal of today is really to give you all the information on what happened in 2019. As those of you that have been part of digital marketing or do digital marketing know that it changes like that, right? Marketing started off very slow in print, and then radio, and then TV, and it was kind of a slow thing. And digital marketing changes like that, right? So from month to month, day to day, even for us as a team, sometimes it's hard to kind of stay on pace with everything that's out there. So I want to really talk about the strengths of 2019, some of the weaknesses and the losers of 2019 in terms of digital platforms. And then also, as we get into 2020, it's still weird to say 2020, I can't believe 20 years from year 2000. But anyway, we're going to talk about what you need to do in order to have successful marketing campaigns in 2020, right? Everything from the setup to which platforms you should use, and how to really change potentially your approach on looking at digital marketing, and how does it become beneficial for your business. When we talk about marketing in itself, there's two trains of thought, right? There's the train of thought that, oh, I'm going to do creative stuff. But the way I look at marketing is it's not necessarily just about creativity. It's a component of it. Marketing is, I'm doing this to achieve that. It could be revenue, could be followers, could be trying to get a message out, but there's an end goal. The marketing is not just about creative, it's about really kind of establishing your goals and your clear goals. So I'll start with next slide. So 2019 year in review, so we can go to the next slide. Okay, so social media. So the first thing is I want to touch on some of the major social media platforms out there. So we're going to start with Facebook, because that's still the 800-pound gorilla. So in 2019, obviously we've seen changes to Facebook, some of them obvious, some of them not so obvious. One of the biggest things that Facebook pushed in 2019 is their Facebook stories. Okay, so you see them in your Messenger app, which is the messaging system, as well as you see them sort of on the top icon of your phone. About 500 million users per day look at stories. 1/3 of stories are businesses, and so those of you that are maybe not familiar with stories are, it's essentially little snippet or clips or pictures that are very time sensitive. They don't go on your wall, they're not there for a long time, they're getting really good visibility. Now, just so you kind of have an idea of how Facebook works, they essentially give you a lot of visibility at the beginning, and then they pull it away and make you pay for it. That's kind of their way of doing things, right? So it used to be in the past that you would do a post on Facebook, you get all this free organic views, right? Then all of a sudden, people stop getting views on their posts, specifically with businesses. Then you had to pay for it. So stories being a new feature for them, they've really given a lot of free exposure this year, and they're continuing to get decently free exposure. So those of you that are looking for some free exposure on your business pages, Facebook stories is a strong way to go, but it takes a lot of effort and a lot of time to sort of manage it. So just keep in mind with that, but that was a big thing for 2019. The problem with Facebook in 2019 is people stopped trusting it as much. Okay, there was everything that happened with politics and Trump and Russia. So in 2017, they were the #2 trusted platform in terms of digital social media platforms, and in 2019, they were #7. Okay, LinkedIn is #1 across the board. Doesn't mean that it is more secure, more safe, or they do anything different with data. It's just public perception. Does it change anything? Not really, but it is something sort of to keep in mind. Another thing that they launched in 2019 or at the end of 2018 that's a bit of a hit and miss is they created what's called web to lead forms direct on Facebook. So what that means is, if I run an advertisement, in the past you would click it, you would link it either to your website or you would link it to your Facebook page, let's say. What happens now is that when you set up a Facebook profile, they have all your information. Name, telephone number, email address, likes, dislikes, company that you work for. You pretty much see let's say somebody's selling accounting services, and you target that user. They click the button, and it auto pre-fills a contact form on Facebook, just like that. 2 clicks. You see it? Click, click, lead is submitted. You as a user or as an advertiser gets the lead. So we saw a massive uptake in conversion rates because of this web delete form that they created. It was really, really good. However, the quality of the leads are not so great. They haven't really historically been great. And if you're going to use that type of form, you have to really use it in a mass volume type thing. Meaning that you're going to get a ton of leads, and you need to have the resources to serve, to kind of go through them and deal with them properly. Because people just click, right? Click, 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 and they submit a quote request. You call them, and they're like, I don't even know who you are. There are people who don't even realize sometimes what you're doing. So just something that they launched. And the other thing that Facebook implemented, not necessarily in 2019, is Facebook is doing a strong push to keep you within the platform. What does that mean? That means if you're a business or even an individual and you post an outbound link to something, okay, whether it's an event, whether it's your website, whether it's whatever it is, the organic exposure you're going to get from that is very low. Meaning that they don't want you to click there and go to Google. They don't want you to click there and go to YouTube. They don't want you to click there and go anywhere else. There's a reason why a couple years ago you would upload a YouTube link and the YouTube video would embed in Facebook, right? You can watch it straight on Facebook. Now you can't do that anymore. It just screenshots an image and it'll link you to YouTube. But the exposure you get on that is very, very low because they want you to upload that video on the Facebook platform. So these are some of the 2019 changes that Facebook has made that are significant. And we'll talk about the pros and cons of all of them, but outbound links on Facebook is something that you want to be a bit careful with. When we go to Instagram, so Instagram actually has about 500 million active users per day that look at the Instagram stories. It's actually a bit higher than Facebook. Instagram is obviously still a growing platform. It's still doing really well. Obviously, it's a picture-based platform. And it's still one of the only platforms besides YouTube that is still good sometimes to use influencers. Now, those of you that are not familiar on what, let's say, an influencer is, essentially it is somebody with a lot of likes or a lot of fans. So let's say they got 50, 150,000, 200,000 fans. And let's say you're selling a product. And let's say the product is t-shirts. And you tell the Instagram person, hey, I want you to promote my t-shirt on your Instagram page. And they end up saying, perfect, it's going to be $500 and I'm going to do this post for you. The value in that on Facebook is almost zero. And the reason being is that Facebook organic exposure, free exposure, is almost nothing. Which means if you're going to pay an influencer to promote your product, you want them to have exposure. And you won't have it on Facebook. On Instagram, you still get some of that exposure. And I'll touch a bit more on influencers afterwards. But if you use the proper hashtags and everything, you're still going to get more organic exposure than on Facebook. And organic, those of you who maybe are not familiar with the term, it's just another word for free exposure. Exposure that you're not putting ad money into. The reality is, though, is that we'll talk about what that exposure means and the value of it. But overall, Instagram, their Instagram stories is probably one of the better things that you can market on. When you're talking about organic exposure, your business really needs to be in that field. Like if you're a B2B company, Instagram is not going to be the company for you. Like if you're an accounting firm, there's not going to be as much value there. If you're more retail based, there's a little bit more value on Instagram. And I'll take questions at the end also, so if anyone has, you can just jot them down. So I've been a bit of a hater on LinkedIn for a bit, but my views on them are starting to change because they're really starting to change their platform a bit, and it's becoming better. One of my biggest issues with LinkedIn is that in the past, everybody's there to sell on LinkedIn, but no one's there to buy. Right? Anyone who has a LinkedIn profile, I get probably 25 messages a day from people soliciting. Right? And so you get buried in solicitations, There's not like great followings on it, but in terms of advertising and advertising dollars, LinkedIn is about 4 times the cost as marketing on Facebook or as marketing on Instagram. So you're not getting the same bang for buck as you are on the other digital platforms. But LinkedIn recently is starting to do a bit of a shift. They launched something called Events Hub. And what it is they're really trying to redo their infrastructure where it's taking people on the digital platform and allowing people to mobilize. Meaning that you have an event, or you create a networking event, or you create meetings, or whatever it is, and you're able to promote it on LinkedIn. They're trying to get people on LinkedIn, pretty much off LinkedIn, and kind of pretty much go to the actual venues or sites to meet. And since they've done that, they've seen a lot of success, and I believe that this is going to be something where LinkedIn is going to start to find its niche. Because in terms of direct ad spend, it doesn't pay compared to the other platforms. But if they go this route, it's going to be something very different from the other platforms. So those of you that are very B2B type companies, that's something that you're going to want to keep in mind as you go forward. That this may be a good approach, because instead of just soliciting someone with a random email, well, now you can invite them to an event. I mean, we didn't promote this event on LinkedIn because we already have kind of a lot of people attending. But had I wanted to promote it or made it bigger, I would have done it this way. And their algorithm would have taken the event, it would have said that it appeals to, let's say, marketers, and it would then pretty much promote it to them on their thread. So they'd say, oh, there's an event near you at this cafe, or at this restaurant, at this office. Attend? Sure. You press a button, all your information from LinkedIn is pre-filled, and you're invited to the event. So I think that's going to be something that's going to be beneficial in the future. So that's a little bit of a brief on social media marketing. Search marketing. Now, search marketing is not just Google. When we talk about search, it's pretty straightforward, right? People go on Google and they search for something. Montreal accounting firm, shoes, whatever it is, right? A to Z, people search it. Now, when we think about search, we think about Google, which is the 800-pound, gorilla in the room. But it's not just Google. It's also YouTube, which is technically part of Google, but it's the second biggest search engine in the world. It's also Google My Business. It's pretty much anything where somebody is searching for your type of service. Okay, so if you go to the next slide. There's a couple, you can go to the next one. There's a couple different components of search. When we talk about SEO, okay, we're talking about organic search, free rankings. And I say free because that means free. Because you got to create an infrastructure in order to get those rankings, okay? But essentially, there's two components. There's paid search and there's free search, okay? When we talk about free search, someone could be looking for a garage in the West Island. Someone could be looking for a pair of shoes. Someone could be looking for an accounting firm. And you say, I want my website or my local listing to show up. Here's the reality. The reality is that in 2019, Google redid a lot of their interface. And this is the year of what's called the zero-click searches. So just like Facebook, Google is trying to keep you within Google. So how is that happening? You're getting data-rich results. So how many times do you search for something and then you go on Wikipedia or it clicks you out? It's not the case necessarily anymore. If I search for something, how many times does Google give you the answer right in Google? Right? They have little drop-down menus, conversion rates, calculators, travel. All this information is right there on the page. You don't even have to outclick. They do it through what's called API feeds. They pull the information straight into Google. They want to keep you there. They don't want you to even outbound click. And what that's saying is that a lot of people that have invested a lot of energy and time into blogs and different things, their data is just getting pulled straight into Google, and they may not even get that website traffic from it. It's not a bad thing. It's just a different step that they're starting to take. And it is something that people need to pay attention to, because Google has access to your data, they're pulling your data, and they're going to start housing the data as if it's their own. When you're looking at rich data that shows up on Google, those answers are not someone in Google typing those answers. They're getting pulled from the most popular pages out there. And there's like a little citation usually at the bottom of it on where it came from. So it's very important to know that people may see, even if you have these popular blogs, their organic traffic going down. And that's because people are not clicking, they're getting the information within Google. Something to keep an eye on. They also did what's called diversity and a medical update. They started to name their what they call core algorithm updates. to kind of, for people to sort of keep track of it a bit better. A diversity update is that if you had a very popular blog or website, and someone searches, let's say, I'll use the example of shoes, and you have 25 listings of shoes from the same website, they don't do that so much anymore. Okay, they'll diversify the search results with different URLs. In addition, and this is something that everyone has to be very, not nervous about, but very aware about, is that they did a medical update around mid-year. And essentially what ended, or even actually early in the year, what ended up happening is they said, all these medical websites, they're getting all these organic rankings, we don't want them to get these rankings anymore. There's a lot of bad information for medical websites, a lot of faulty information, a lot of bad drug information, and so they did this update that people's traffic went from 50,000 views per month to like 500. Thing about Google is that you don't have control over their algorithm, you don't have control of their updates, you don't have control of what they're going to look for. And so the only reason I'm bringing it up is not to scare anybody, it's that they've made core updates that have affected people's businesses. And when someone has a digital marketing strategy that's solely around SEO, you're a bit at mercy on what they're going to do. So it's just something to keep in mind. Now SEO or organic rankings could generate people a ton of money, right? And I'll give you an example. SEO also tied in with Google My Business. And so those of you that have actual retail businesses, you may have put your business addresses in Google, right? Could be gyms, could be mechanic garages, could be retail stores, and that would get ranked. So if someone's looking for a garage in the West Island, your garage gets ranked #1. They click, all of a sudden they're on your website, you didn't pay for it. Amazing, right? But that's not how Google works. Google is a business that makes billions of dollars. People started to notice in 2019, which wasn't available at the beginning, that competitors were were marketing on their My Business pages. So all of a sudden now, you're getting all this traffic for a garage in the West Island, and all of a sudden your competition is showing up on your Google My Business page. Right? They gave you your traffic and your free ranking, just like Facebook. They gave it organically, you showed success, now you're going to pay for it. And if not, someone else is going to pay for it, and they're going to take your business and take your traffic. So it's always something to keep in mind that if it's free, don't base your business off just that. Build on it and understand that something's going to come behind it that's going to pretty much take some of your traffic. Another huge thing that they've done is they've redesigned their mobile interface, okay, and their desktop interface. So in the past, it was pretty clear to know what an ad was and what wasn't an ad, right? Okay, you had kind of like 6 or 3 ads on the side, you had a couple on top that were different color. It was pretty easy to determine what an ad is. Now on mobile, when you do a search, if you're organically, you have a little favicon, a little icon that's usually your company logo that shows up in the search result right beside the URL. The only thing that differentiates an ad now is a little thing that says AD in that favicon, not beside the URL like it used to. They want people to get confused on what's organic and what's paid, because paid, they get paid, right? So as long as their search paid results are of high quality, they'd rather people click. It's pay per click. They only get paid if people click on it. So obviously their incentive is for people to pay, right? So once again, organic search just started to drop a bit because people are clicking more of these paid ads because the interface is harder to determine. And you know how you search stuff. You search it, it's quick, right? You're not necessarily looking for that ad favicon, you may not notice it, which is bad for SEO, but it's good for search engine marketing, okay? Which is something you do have control over. So we can go to the next slide. So search engine marketing. This for me is still the 800-pound gorilla in the room for marketing. Those of you that are not doing it, this is where you want to sort of build your business, okay? Or build your business, or at least have a certain level of control over it. Now when I say search engine marketing, I don't necessarily mean just keywords, okay? We're talking about leveraging, let's say we'll use Google as an example, the Google infrastructure for your business, all right? So search engine marketing is pretty simplistic in its base level, right? I'm looking for an accounting firm in Montreal. Accounting firm Montreal. You tell Google, I want to pay for that keyword. You show up pretty much #1 on, or #2 or #3, you know, on their page. If you click on it, you pay for the click depending on competition. They end up on your website, some people call you, some people don't call you. But it is so exact. You're not paying for 500 people to only get that one client that may need your service, right? But with search engine marketing, you also have display marketing, which is a kind of derivative of search engine marketing, where you can have banner ads showing up on all different websites. You have remarketing, which is people that end up on your website, their IP address can get tagged, and then as you surf the internet, you start seeing your banner ads throughout the internet. And then you also have YouTube marketing. In addition, just like Facebook, search engine marketing has now changed some of their options. So originally they came out with what's called a click to call. Okay? Your ad is there, and there's a telephone number on the ad. You don't need to go to your website. You click it, they call you straight from the ad without even going to the website. From there, they've evolved to pretty much a lead gen submission form straight from Google as an extension, as an option when you're running an ad. So someone's looking for a Montreal accounting firm, they click, right? Google has all your information too if you have a Google account. Name, first name, last name, email, telephone number, all set up. You click it again, you got the lead, they never even went on your website. So Google is evolving as well to create a marketing infrastructure within Google that allows you to generate a lot more leads. And I've done marketing conferences and speeches just on search engine marketing, just on social media. So obviously we're not going to go too in depth in it, but the thing about search engine marketing is that it's scalable and you have more control over it. It's not that social media isn't, it's not that SEO isn't, but search engine marketing, if you pay $500 and you get 3 leads, well, if you pay $5,000, you'll probably get 30 leads, depending on the market share that you have and the pool size of potential business. But this should always be your base for marketing. And then everything else should work around it because of how precise it is. I mean, there's companies in here that are multi-billion-dollar companies. There's companies in here that are startups. There's companies in here that are retail-based. Doesn't matter. You can be looking for a gym. You can be looking for information on health. You can be looking for a mechanic. You can be looking for a garage. You can be looking for anything from A to Z. People search you. And that's the most direct lead you're going to get. And it probably will be for, I don't want to say forever, but it will be for a very long time. So that's sort of for search engine marketing. So YouTube. Now YouTube in the past obviously was a video platform, right? But it is the second largest search engine in the world right now. The obvious benefits of YouTube are that you can really present your visual brand and the information that you want to present properly. People don't read anymore, right? I mean, they read, they just don't read a lot anymore. Their attention spans are very, very short. And having videos or videos of your brand is extremely important in terms of growing your business. In addition to that, you can also have users creating videos for you, which I'll get into a bit later. But just so you understand, per month, YouTube has 2 billion logged in users that use their platform. And more importantly, one of the most important criteria that you need to realize about YouTube that is very different from Google is Google doesn't suggest you stuff. I mean, after your search it does, but it doesn't just randomly suggest you stuff. Facebook does, but Facebook's not really a search engine. 70% of videos that are watched on YouTube are YouTube suggested videos based on their algorithm. And this is why it's extremely important. If I go into one of your YouTube accounts, it's going to really tell a story of who you are, right? Some people might have UFC fights, some people might have music videos, some people might have electronic music. Some people are going to have their YouTube pages littered with kid stuff because their kids just keep clicking on kids videos, right? A lot of anyone who has kids, you probably look at it, it's all like suggested of like weird kid videos of like Play-Doh and goo and like people opening the packages. So what that means is that if you're a niche business, or even if you're not a niche business, and you're in the health field, your videos that you have to create have to be really structured and targeted properly. Because the majority of your traffic is going to be on how YouTube suggests it, right? Yes, people may search it, but for the most part, it's going to be through suggested content. And those of you that are niche, or have something very specific, or a very specific story you want to tell, try to figure out what type of videos will my potential client base watch? And then structure your video campaigns based on that, okay? What else? YouTube is one of the most subscribed platforms out there. It is actually the most subscribed one. It's 71% or 73% of the US population use YouTube and 69% on Facebook. So 73% of the population use YouTube. 69% on Facebook, 27% on LinkedIn. So when people say sometimes, oh, my client base is not on YouTube, or my client base is not on Facebook, or they're on Facebook and they're on YouTube. That's done. If I've had clients that have very high net worth clients that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and they're not on Facebook. They are, they just don't use their name. They still want to keep in touch with their kids and their family, and they still want to see what's going on. So, this is something that I believe in 2020 is that something that everybody needs to watch and start getting involved in it. Because a lot of times we spend a lot of time in press and writing articles and doing certain things that people don't read. This year is going to be where people are going to actually start to get some traction. So, winners in 2019. What were the winners? Okay, so I'm going to talk about TikTok a bit later, okay, because that's like the big thing that everyone's talking about. They have 1.5 billion downloads, okay, which is, any way you slice it, is ginormous. It's huge for Generation Z. So if you're like an accounting firm, probably not your client base. Generation Z is, I think they consider it between 4 and 23 years old. So very, very young demographic. Brand communities, massive right now in 2019. So what's a brand community? Brand community is, I just like to segment it in two things, okay? Number one, it is someone goes to a restaurant, they love their food, take a picture, hashtag it, you're kind of creating a brand community. Somebody is promoting your brand, right? Somebody is pushing your brand, somebody is raving about your services, or it is efforts by the company to generate brand communities. So an example is Lego. Okay, Lego did a big competition where people were able to design their own Lego, and then the community of Lego would vote on which Lego should actually become a Lego set, and the person who wins actually shares in the profit of that Lego. It's a perfect example of how a big company created a brand and a community around their product, right? It's marketing. It's not giving back to the community, it's still marketing, just in a different sense. So brand community, really, really big. And nano influencers also started to show results in 2019. So what's a nano influencer? A nano influencer is essentially somebody that has between 1,000 and maybe 10,000 followers. Very niche. So not there's anything wrong with it, but if it's a girl in bikini pics, the chances are she has no influence. It's just people wanting to see her in bikini pics. If it's a mom that is talking about how to make really fast lunches, and she's got 5,000 followers, probably got a lot of influence. If it's a very specialty field that someone is talking about energy, or talking about Legos, or talking about accounting practices, or whatever it is, very niche fields are going to yield the best results. So nano influencers started to show a lot of progress. And sponsored articles started to show some progress as well. Those of you that are not sure what that is if ever you've been on like a CNN website and you scroll down and it's like CNN article, and then there's like a random article that you're not sure if it's part of CNN or not, and it's about like the dentist industry, and you're like, that's kind of weird to be on CNN. Like it's like a strange thing. You're talking about Trump, and then there's like dentist. But it looks like an article as part of CNN. That is actually showed a lot of results, because what happens is those articles are triggered by what your previous searches were. So if I searched for, I'll just use an example, a gym, and I end up on their website, and their IP address gets stored either on Facebook or on Google, that search, then what happens is that I go on these other websites, what I see on CNN as a sponsored article, I only see it. You won't see it, I'll see it. So I'm like, oh wow, there's a good article on accounting, or that's a cool article, wow, oh my god, that's a cool article on fitness tips or on energy. All of a sudden you're like, wow, how did this person get on CNN? You don't even realize it's not part of CNN. Those sponsored articles showed some good success in 2019. When we talk about losers, and I mean losers, I don't mean losers, like not actual losers, that just didn't really yield the results that we were looking for. In 2019, Facebook invested $2 billion on their virtual reality platforms, not really taking off. It looks like people right now at this point are not using virtual reality like they were hoping for. It's not that they won't, but just something that you don't have to do virtual reality stuff just to get in your business. Instagram TV. Instagram, as you saw, or as I mentioned before, with 500 million users a day looking at their stories, you would think that, and one of the reasons that Instagram TV is struggling, and well, what they're anticipating or they're saying is probably an issue, is the vertical mode of the phone is not great for people taking videos that they film and editing it for that type of landscape. So they're kind of cropped in a weird way, and then also people are just not using necessarily their phone to watch long-term videos on Instagram like that. Could be a targeting thing, could be a horizontal thing. Whatever it is, it's not generating what they were hoping for. Could change. Doesn't necessarily mean it's not going to change in 2020, but for right now, it was a bit of a miss for them. Hidden likes. So those of you probably saw, like on Instagram in particular, they've hidden the likes, you know, and they did it for a pretty, I think they did it for an ethical reason, which is young generation were getting very consumed on how many likes they were actually getting, and the visibility of the likes were kind of giving them anxiety and stuff like that. So they hid the likes. It's actually reduced the overall amount of likes that have happened. Does it matter? Maybe not, but it is something that is people are liking less and just viewing more. And then the other thing is the big time influencers are starting to struggle in 2000. It struggled. I predicted that actually in 2018, and they're struggling more in 2019. When I say big time influencers, I'm talking about the people with 150,000 million views. The trick about influencers, and I keep repeating it because I get this question a lot, is that an influencer has to have influence, not likes, right? If Oprah promotes your product, you're gonna have influence. If Ashton Kutcher promotes your product, you're gonna have influence. If Shane Weber promotes your product, you're gonna have influence. If Mike Smith, who makes pancakes in funny shapes, promotes your product, you may get exposure, but you're not gonna have any influence, which means people may not buy your product. In addition to that, remember I told you that Facebook changed their algorithm, you don't get a lot of organic impressions? Instagram's organic impressions have started to go down. It's owned by Facebook. They want people to pay. So the free exposure you used to get with influencers, you don't get anymore, which means you need to pay for the actual visibility. But why pay them and then have to pay, might as well just do it yourself and pay for the exposure yourself to your desired client base. So those influencers are starting to struggle. It's not that it's bad, it's just that if you want to go the influencer route and you want to pay somebody to promote your product, there's key questions you have to ask them. Everything comes down to dollars and cents. And what you pay them, you need to make sure you have a return on investment. So big time influencers, I kind of put a bit of a asterisk beside it, okay? So making 2020 your year. So hopefully I didn't lose anyone yet. But just so you know, as I give these, our goal is to do these every 6 weeks. And so what I described today, we're going to break it down in more detail. So we'll have one just on Facebook, one just on Instagram, one just on SEO, one just on search engine marketing. But I really want you guys to have a real top level kind of idea of what you need to do. So 2020, so first things first. You go to the next slide. The first thing that anybody has to do when you're doing a digital marketing campaign, and I would say, and I'm not joking, 98% of people don't do this. What are your key performance indicators for success? What are your benchmarks of success? People don't ask these questions. And it's dangerous to start marketing campaigns when you don't have this. Now, is clicks a benchmark of success? I say no. Clicks don't matter. Impressions don't matter. Really all that matters is money, or if you're in a business where you're trying to get exposure for something, potentially exposure. But at the end of the day, what's extremely important is, what are your key performance indicators for success? Do you want to make $50,000 a month? 50 million? 500 million? 250 million? $6? What do you want to get? People get bogged down in click traffic, impressions, click-through rates. They get bogged down in data that really doesn't matter. All that matters is money. I put X in, what's my return on investment? And so when we talk about clear key performance indicators, it's not fair to just say, I'm going to put $500 in and I want to make at least $1,000. Okay, but what does that mean? What is your average order value? What is your lifetime value of your client? Some of you may be willing to take a loss on the initial sale to know that they'll come back 10 times in the year and purchase more. What is going to be the referral rate if you're a B2B type company? All these things need to be settled in your KPIs. Because if you say, Joe, or you guys look internally and you say, I want to make $150,000 a year. Okay, but what does that mean? If the average person, if your average order is 50 bucks and they're going to come back 3 times a year, okay, so then the average, let's say the year lifetime value is 100 bucks. Okay, so that means that we need to get 500 orders, let's just say. I'm not going to do math on the spot, but let's just say 500 orders in order to get $100,000 or 500,000, whatever it is. Okay, well, what's going to be my conversion rate then? Okay, well, let's say a good conversion rate on an e-commerce store is, let's say, 3%. Let's just take numbers from the sky. Okay, so that means I'm going to need 1,500 or 5,000 clicks on my website in order to get 500 sales. Okay, or 150,000 clicks, whatever it is. Well, how much is it per click? Well, it could be $2 or $1.50. Okay, do your numbers now make sense? Those are KPIs. How much am I willing to pay per click? What does my conversion rate need to be, right? Conversion rate is how many people go on your site that will then actually submit a lead or purchase. What is my average order value? Because that is something that needs to remain consistent. And what's my lifetime value of this client? How much will they bring me in the year? Or is it just that one sale? You have to have that. Otherwise, you're creating marketing campaigns and you don't even know what are your goals, right? I've seen a lot of times where people will say, oh, well, I got 50,000 impressions. So, I got 500 clicks. So, I mean, people are here today because it's usually, for the most part, unless it's an exposure type thing, it's a business of dollars and cents. It's a money thing. And so that needs to be structured, right? I'm probably going to give maybe the next digital breakfast, it's just going to be on establishing your KPIs. How do you establish your key performance indicators for success in a digital marketing landscape? So let's say this is now set up. You know where you want to go. Okay? Optimizing your website for conversions. It does, and when I say website, it doesn't necessarily just have to be kind of a full website, but if your website is not good, as much as, yes, there's the lead forms on Facebook, there's the lead forms on Google, you know, people may call through LinkedIn, your website is still your home base. Your website has to be optimized for conversions. What does that mean? In marketing, we have a very strong tendency to use our opinion to determine things. I don't have opinions on stuff. I have what data tells me. Because I've learned in the past that I'm wrong 95% of the time. I think, oh, people are going to love this ad and they're going to convert. Nope. People are going to, this website is gorgeous, but no one's calling. It's important to understand what your data is telling you. Which means that if your website looks great, but it's not converting, there's stuff that have to be changed. We've built gorgeous websites for people and run marketing to it, no leads. We've created a landing page. Those of you know what it is. This is a one-page website with a form. Barely information on it. The landing page converts 10 times as much as the super expensive website that is stunning. I mean, we build websites here, so I don't want to put websites down. But the reality is that you have to do what is going to generate you the most amount of leads. And to anybody will look at a landing page and a stunning website and say, this website's really going to sell. No one's going to fill out this landing page, there's not enough information. Let me tell you, it converts like crazy. We had a client in the medical industry that they had an okay website. It wasn't crazy. We hadn't built it. It was from a different company. And we ran traffic to the website, barely any leads, 2-3 leads a month. We created them a landing page with barely any information on it, just a form. And it was a questionnaire that really highlighted the process of going for these types of surgeries, okay, these types of plastic surgeries, and why are you doing it, and what are your goals, and X, Y, Z, just radio buttons. Click, drop down, they convert 3 to 4 leads a day now. 3 to 4 leads, these surgeries are not $4 surgeries, right? So they're getting about 1,000 leads a year. Instead, they were probably getting about 20 for the same budget. So it's very important to understand that if you have a good website, you run traffic to it, and it's not converting like you want based on your KPIs, you have to make changes. And sometimes the changes are strange, but you need to optimize for it, okay? Don't make sure your website is not necessarily just static, all right? Setting up your marketing infrastructure. There's so many digital marketing platforms now out there, right? There's Facebook, there's Instagram, there's TikTok, there's WhatsApp, there's Twitter, not everyone is good for your business. Facebook, I would say Instagram, LinkedIn if you're a B2B type company, are gonna be the ones that you wanna set up, YouTube as well, and set up properly. Make sure there's a brand synergy throughout. Make sure that your content is of quality to the users. Remember, people love to buy, but nobody likes to be sold to, okay? So have a really strong infrastructure, make sure that you know the latest trends on these platforms, and make sure that there's synergy, right? If your website looks one way and Facebook looks another way, and don't use your business page as a personal page or a personal blog, make it like a nice synergy throughout. So now we have your KPIs, you have your web presence set up and optimized, you have your social media infrastructure set up. Now what do you do? Now, if we go to the next slide, you build an automated infrastructure. So what does that mean? In the past, digital marketing was very straightforward, but very simplistic at the same. So it was, someone searches, they end up on your website. Someone sees you on social media, they click, they end up on your website. Someone sees a YouTube video, they watch it, they probably end up nowhere, they stay on YouTube. When we talk about automated infrastructure, all your digital marketing efforts should work together in synergy and be segmented for your different types of client base, because a lot of your businesses have different types of clients. It's not like one client, one demographic for your client. You might have moms as a client base, you might have younger people, you might have older people. These people all have to be targeted differently. So let's say, I'll give you an example of what I'm referring to when we talk about an automated infrastructure. Somebody searches, I'll use a garage as an example, just because mechanic in here. So someone searches West Island mechanic. Great, they click on it, you pay for the click. They end up on your website. What happens is when they end up on your website, there's what's called remarketing pixels that we put in the back end of the website, or that you can put in the back end of your website, that stores your IP address in those marketing platforms. Let's say the person never calls. In the past, that was it. Not anymore. Now, as this person starts surfing the internet, they start seeing banner ads for the garage. But only that user is seeing the banner ads. And when you talk about the cost of these banner ads, and it also could be articles and stuff on social media, you're talking that they price it, or it's looked at in a CPM basis, cost per 1,000 eyeballs. And the cost could range anywhere between $2 and $7 per CPM. So can you imagine, someone goes on your website and they see your ad 1,000 times and it's gonna cost you $5. And this is your targeted, this is your clientele within a specific geo-targeted area. Then they go on social media and they see your posts, even though they've never liked your fan page. Why? Because there's the Facebook remarketing pixel. And maybe it's not a good example for a garage, but then they go on CNN and they see an article and they're like, oh wow, this guy's featured on CNN, or this business is featured on CNN. What happens when they go on YouTube? Guess what? They see your videos. They go on Instagram, they see your Instagram posts. You've captured them in this infrastructure. What happens is then you can segment these remarketing lists in a hierarchy. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you're an online store, you sell t-shirts. Someone comes on your website, they add to cart, they don't buy. You say, okay, that's a B-level client. B-level client sees these types of marketing campaigns throughout the internet. Then let's say they come back to the website and they convert, they buy. But then that's an A-level client. I don't want to give a B-level client the same messaging as an A-level client, because the chances if they bought once is they may come back and buy again. So I want them to see my ads more. I want them to see different ads. I want them to, it's not the same experience. Same thing if you have a business that has very different targeted demographics, right? I use fitness as an example. You can have young people, right? That's a very good demographic for fitness. And then you can have old people. They can be targeted very differently based on the messaging that you want to put out. So automated infrastructure is essentially, you create a funnel. People come in through these types of search criteria. They end up in these categories depending on what their actions are on the website. And then this is the messaging that these people see. In addition, if they are in a B-level type client and they do certain things, they can now become an A-level type client and see that messaging. When that infrastructure is set up, it's automated. It does it on its own. You just have to make sure that the results are producing like you want them to. So we're talking about infrastructure setup before even creating one digital ad campaign, one creative campaign. It's Infrastructure, infrastructure, infrastructure. Now you have your KPIs, right? You have your social media infrastructure, you have your website infrastructure. Now you have your automated infrastructure set up. Now you have a story to tell somebody, right? So this is the beauty of digital marketing, is everything can work in harmony with one another. SEO for 2020. I am not going to tell anybody to get away from trying to get organic rankings, but SEO and Google in particular, you're not going to trick them anymore. It's not 2002 where you can hide keywords in the back of your website and put the keyword text in white on a white background and you show up everywhere. Those days are done, so that's finished, okay? The thing with organic SEO, it's always about quality, okay? Quality website, quality content, and as specific niche content as possible, okay? If you're a business and you're gonna talk about ketogenic diet, and your article is on ketogenic diet, and you write content for it, or you create something on it, the chances that you're gonna get ranked on the first page anyway, remember Google also localizes and customizes searches per user, but the chances that you're gonna get an organic ranking is probably pretty slim, because there's so much out there for that. Try to be as niche as possible when you're creating content, right? If it's for a very specific industry or a very specific user, it's important that it's specific, and quality. I mean, that's the best advice I can give you. We don't necessarily know where SEO and where Google's gonna go, but at the end of the day, the most important thing is quality content, niche content, and then leverage that SEO content in your future marketing, right? If you write an article on a ketogenic diet and it gets ranked and people end up on your website, well, don't just leave them on your website. Get them in that remarketing pixel and let them now remarket them throughout the internet, right? Initial acquisition is very important. So that's my 2 cents sort of for SEO. Search engine and display marketing, I mean, if used right, this is still the 800-pound gorilla. Businesses have been built on search engine marketing. You have control over it, you have leverage on it, you can build it, you can create more market share on it, you can expand your business on it, and you have more control. You know, we obviously, there's only limited control that we have in anything in life, but you have more control here because you're actually paying. So, you know, I really suggest that if you have a strong business and you want to build it, make sure you have a strong search engine marketing campaigns going. Local marketing is big for search engine marketing, right? So if you're small mom and pop shops or you're a smaller business, local marketing is very, very good on Google. And one thing that I'm using, or we're using here a lot for a lot of our clients for search engine and banner advertisement and digital marketing, is this now can be combined very well with offline marketing initiatives that you do. So I give you an example. We do stuff for a lot of larger companies that do quite a bit of trade shows. Trade shows are very expensive. Those of you that have ever been involved in attending or promoting or building up trade shows, what happens is that people spend tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to go to these trade shows. Now, one thing that you have to keep in mind is your website traffic, if it has proper remarketing pixels on it, has all these people that have gone to your website, probably within your industry, over a certain period of time. What we do is we run very aggressive banner ad and social media marketing campaigns where we set a geo fence around the exhibition expo. So all of a sudden, all the digital marketing efforts that you did in the past, search, social, all those people that went on your website, there's a strong chance they may go to that trade show. What happens when they open their phone on the trade show? Visit us at booth 256. Click here to book your meeting. Click here to book your, let's say if it's an aviation thing, your tour of on a static aircraft, or the static, whatever it is. Now, all of a sudden, you're getting so much present within this specific trade show because of your digital marketing efforts. So it's taking offline, old school type marketing, and online, and merging it together. Huge value. We've had companies that have seen unbelievable value using this platform at trade shows, and their ad spend on this is like $100. You're spending $100,000 to go to a trade show, and now you're getting 50, 60,000 impressions, views at a trade show for $100, $200. So it's almost a no-brainer, but you need both to work together. So just big thing for SEM in 2020 is really combining with your offline marketing stuff. Video marketing. This is the big thing for 2020. I urge you all, I don't care what you sell, video marketing is the biggest thing that you can do, okay? Your videos don't have to be multi-million-dollar productions. Cameras are not as expensive as they used to be. People are looking for content that is not too selling. They're looking for real content from real people. And we've seen unbelievable amount of successes from all different industries where people are promoting and showing real videos out there, okay? So when we're talking about that type of thing, create videos, create content. People are not reading. Even if you have a press release or an article, create a video with snippets of the article. Even if it's not somebody talking. You're taking key excerpts of the article, some background music and images, put that on YouTube. That video may be then suggested to people within that industry. You're leveraging content that you've already created, okay? And also try to get people in your industry to create user-generated content. It's so easy nowadays with their people's phones. Whether it's videos at restaurants, whether it's promoting your business or promoting your product and posting it, use YouTube, use Facebook, promote your videos, add your videos on these things, do as many videos as possible. The speeches, the language on the videos also potentially get indexed, your tags get indexed. You want to build a strong infrastructure with videos, okay? Really, really big. Tips are good, but just be real. Be real on your videos. So social media in 2020, so just so you understand, 90% of buying decisions are led by communities. Okay, almost everything we buy, whether we know it or not, is led by the influence of people within our community, right? We buy Mercedes because of the community around it, right? We buy the clothes we wear, we see the concert we see, we buy the shoes and the clothes, and we all buy it based on the influence. We might not think we do, but we do. And as much as big companies are spending a lot of money for big brands and big advertisement campaigns, at the end of the day, our peers are going to determine what we buy. So that means if you're creating marketing strategies, create a buzz and a feel around your product that people are comfortable with and people talk about, right? I mean, look at us when we're in high school, right? Sometimes, I don't know me, I look at pictures for me in high school and I'm like, I can't believe I wore those pair of pants. Right? Like you used to get those, I don't know if anyone, Stitches, or like big diamond exhaust jeans. Like I look like a clown wearing them, but I was influenced by my peers. It's no different than an adult. Don't think that now, because you're older, it's different. We wear our hair a certain way, we wear the jeans that we wear, we go to the restaurants that we go to because of the influence of our peers. It has to be kept in your head. And so anything that you're doing, remember, anything that anybody spreads or shares or pushes, that's going to be huge. And that's what you want social media for. Don't just say, hey, buy this handbag for $29, made with this type of material. You're not going to get any conversions. But if someone or one of your friends posts it and she's like, oh my God, I love this handbag because I can, I don't know, carry my cat in it or whatever it is, you know, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I need that bag too for my cat. Like it's just a mental thing, right? It's just how we're built as a human species. And the more marketing you do, you know, the better it's going to be. And just because you do something and it doesn't work, it doesn't mean that it's not successful. Because sometimes you need to do 50 unsuccessful things to get to the one thing that becomes the successful campaign that blows up your business, right? So you're never going to have all of them. It's very rare you're going to have initial success right off the bat. So emerging platforms. So I just want to talk quickly about TikTok because that's probably the thing that I get the most questions about. Obviously, I mentioned, 1.5 billion downloads. They have about 750 million estimated active users on it. 750 million is a crazy amount. Huge for Generation Z. If you're a B2B, if you're a product that appeals to older people, this is not the marketing platform for you yet, because a lot of the platforms, Instagram and Facebook, they started off with a younger demographic and they grew afterwards. So it's not that it's bad or anything, it's just right now it's younger. It is a Chinese-owned company, so it's not that that's also a bad thing, but there's the whole Weiwa scandal and everything. You just have to keep it in mind that who knows what's going to happen in the future with it. Big brands have advertised on it, like Nike, Apple Music in particular, and they're really trying to push to this younger generation. But their advertising platform is a bit like the Wild Wild West right now. It's not really developed like the other platforms, which is natural. And their cost per CPM, their cost per 1,000 eyeballs is significantly more expensive than some of the other platforms out there. So you know, it could be between $13 and $14 per CPM for 1,000 eyeballs, where on Google and YouTube, you can probably get that in the $3 to $8 range. Again, not a bad thing to market in, not a bad thing to test. If your market is Generation Z, it is something that's there, but it's new. It's new, and when new things, there's a lot of opportunity, but there's also a lot of potential to waste a lot of money. And I'll give you an example. With Snapchat, when they started out, they had a lot of advertising opportunities that they were just trying to figure out. And companies were spending thousands and thousands of dollars to set up these geofences around certain areas to create their filters. I don't know if you remember, they had like Snapchat filters. And they spent so much money, and Snapchat didn't even know how to price this thing properly. And so people were paying, you know, $10,000, $50,000 for a parade to market it, and they would have like 500 pictures taken with the filter. And so they just weren't there yet as a platform. So you got to be careful with that as well. But it's definitely something to watch. 41% of their traffic is between the ages of 16 and 24, and 66% is under 30. I mean, those of you that probably experienced it, it's probably your kids most likely that are on it. So that's sort of there for TikTok. So, you know, obviously it's a bit of a brain dump today, and there's a lot of stuff that I talked about and a lot of different platforms. Like I said, we will offer more conferences and stuff like that I'll get into the details of everything. Like, we're going to do one just on KPIs, one just on Facebook. But here's the reality of things, is that when we talk about marketing, we talk about, or our initial thoughts is that we're going to just create creatives. It's got to be looked at in a business in itself. So you got to know your KPIs. You got to know your key performance indicators before anything. Don't do anything else until you know that. And be able to track it. If you can't track it, then you're operating blindly, okay? You want to know your target audience. And sorry, and I'm just going to go back here. The other reason why a KPI is so important is that if you have a goal of $1 million and you realize it's going to take you $50,000 of ad spend to get to that $1 million, doesn't mean you have $50,000 of ad spend, right? You might not have even close to that. But if you have $500 of ad spend and you generate 1/100th of the result of the $1 million, right? So you generate whatever, $1,000 or whatever, $10,000 with the 500, and you have 10% of the market share. Well, now you can just boost your budget and you'll hit your goal. Right? So it's very important to know those KPIs, because then you can start small, reach your success, and then actually put the big budget in. So without actually emptying your pockets right off the beginning. So know your KPIs, know your target audience, right? And you may have different audiences, right? You might have young people, old people, rich people, poor people, people that are into fitness and people that are not into fitness, people that are lazy, and all different demographics, all different types of messaging. Set up an automated infrastructure, okay? Let these platforms and all the geniuses behind them, right? All these people at Facebook and Google that build these unbelievable infrastructures, use those platforms to your advantage. Create that infrastructure and then spit it out. Allow for flexibility of testing. And this is super important, especially there's a lot of people in here that are at marketing departments of larger companies, and not necessarily just, you know, the business owners. You have to let, you know, the people that you're reporting to know that it's not going to be, you know, home run right off the bat. This is what you're testing. This is the goals. These are the key performance indicators. If we don't hit those goals, we're going to change the marketing campaigns until we do. But don't assume that it's going to be like, well, you know, I'm going to put $500 in, I'm going to make 50,000, and then I'm going to put 5,000, I'm going to make 5 million. Like, it's more of a process than that. Create strategic messaging. Like, just because an ad looked nice doesn't mean it's actually resonating with people. You know, a mom talking about a pair of shoes for her daughter that she loves because they're so comfortable and her daughter's able to play soccer and also look cute in them has more value than a super beautiful ad that's designed well. It has more value for your business. So get out of the mindset of just gorgeous ads. They're important, you want to look professional, but it's beyond that, okay? And know which platform is best for you. And this is through trial and error. Just because TikTok is out there doesn't mean it's good for you. Just because Instagram's there doesn't mean it's good for you. Just because Twitter's there, the WhatsApp, all these other platforms, Pinterest and Snapchat, doesn't mean they're the right platforms for you. If I can give you one suggestion, Google probably is the right platform for you, for 99% of businesses. And Facebook and Instagram and YouTube have so much users, so many users that it's probably going to be able to hit your niche market. Besides that, a lot of it will be trial and error with these other these other platforms. So that sort of concludes this presentation. Like I said, digital marketing in itself is a combination of data, number. But always keep in mind, and I say this all the time, what are your KPIs? What are your financial goals in this marketing stuff? And how are you going to reach it the best way possible? You know, a very simple way is that when we're dealing with influencers and our client comes to us and say, hey, I want to go with this influencer. It's very simple for me. I tell them, what is your fee? Well, it's going to be $5,000. Great. How many clicks am I going to get for the $5,000? If they say, I'm not sure because they don't have the data or they never harvested that data from their other clients, the conversation is finished. I don't care about how many likes. Because the minute they tell me how many clicks, I can estimate a conversion rate and how much money they're actually going to make from it. And I can compare it with how much Google or Facebook or YouTube would cost me if I do direct ad spend. It's super simple. I tell our clients, I give them sometimes an Excel sheet and there's a blank box in that Excel sheet. I said, put the ad spend budget in there. It's going to tell you how much money you should make from it and how much the other advertising platforms would cost you for the same amount of exposure. That's it. If an influencer can generate you the KPIs that you're looking for, go for it. If not, go for something else. It's just a kind of a different way to sort of look at it. So I'll open the floor if anyone has any questions. I know I kind of.
So I have a question.
Sure.
Before you talked about the funnel and the level of clients and
Sure.
to really automatically create a nice flow, how do you do that actually?
Sure. Okay, so there's two ways to do it. So
Yeah.
you have to determine, on social media it's a bit different because they have demographics within your data. On a website, you would have to determine what you consider a funnel or A, B, and C. So let's say someone who actually purchases, they check out. Let's say that's an A funnel, and someone who's a B funnel doesn't check out. I'll just use this example. Well, the A funnel in a hierarchy remarketing list is first. So you create in the back end a hierarchy, meaning that this is the ultimate list. And this is the second and the third and the fourth. And if they do this, then they go into this list and they're no longer in the other list. So it's kind of creating it's not like crazy complicated, but it's saying this is the action that causes this is the action that causes this, and if they do the checkout, then they go into A now. They're now a client, and now they're going to be marketed that way. So it's done within the back end of the platform. It's up to the client to determine what that is. So if somebody's on a I don't know, fitness website and it's for weight loss, okay, well that's a weight loss marketing funnel. And if someone's looking for, powerlifting, then that's the powerlifting thing. But if someone goes from weight loss then to powerlifting, well, they don't need to be on the weight loss funnel anymore because they're probably a powerlifter at this point and they probably don't need to lose weight anymore. In addition to that, when you're talking about marketing funnels, they can also be very time sensitive. So let's say somebody goes and they buy something and they buy a pair of shoes for the summer. Okay, but in 6 months, now they need to buy or 3 months, they need to buy winter boots. And the ad could actually say like, hey, we hope you loved your purchase of this because you're an existing client, come back and buy this. Whereas if it's someone who's never purchased, you say, hey, we missed you, why didn't you buy us? Click here, you get 10% off. Like completely different marketing approaches. And one user will not see the other.
Okay, thank you.
You had mentioned for search marketing, and I've noticed it also where you stay within Google, they'll give you the answer right in that little blurb. How do you become that little blurb?
Yeah, so that's the tricky part, right? So that's part of the organic ranking. So what it is, and that's why I said be niche. So a lot of times those answers are going to be pulled from the major websites, like a Wikipedia or big information type websites, MD websites, medical websites. Everybody searches every type of disease that they think they have on Google, and now Google just gives you the answer straight. So what it means is that Google needs to look at your response to that potential question as being the most relevant one out there. How does it do that? Your website has to be of high quality. You need to have gotten a lot of traffic and a low bounce rate on the website, meaning that people that go on your site, they don't spend 2 seconds on it. They stay on it and they actually read it, and through the Google algorithm it will pull it. But it's not like, hey Google, I want to appear here. You submit a sitemap, there's many things that you do for best practices, but that takes time. It takes time. The more niche you go, the better it is.
So I have a question. What about texting at all? You haven't mentioned texting.
Absolutely. Texting is another great thing. So I guess we can consider it digital. I mean, it's a bit different. Now, the thing about texting is that there's a lot of platforms out there where you can do mass texting, automated texting, texting that works good with your other digital media platforms because you can track through Facebook in particular with mobile telephone numbers. They can sign up to a texting service. The thing about texting is that you just have to be careful because it could be invasive to people. So it's the same thing like emails 5 years ago, before they added this canned spam, anti-spam law, is that people just went bananas with emails because they worked. Spamming people worked. Whether it was a good thing to do or not, it actually did work. So you just want to be careful with texting that people opt in properly for it. And make sure when you're texting, there's something for them to do. Download a coupon, have them, from the text message, click somewhere where you can actually track it to see if it's worth it. Because a lot of these big texting platforms, there's fees to it, there's fees associated to it. So let's say it's a membership thing or a sale thing or a special thing and they opted into this text message, have a hyperlink that clicks to the website, track that conversion rate, and see if it actually has a lot of value. Yeah.
Hey, Joe, one of the terms you used that I'd never heard before was geolocking. And you're using it in the one of the examples you brought up was around a trade show.
Yeah.
Can you just sort of, I apologize if maybe this is more familiar to other people. So how are you, is the person picking up the cookie or whatever, the pixel, when they're at the show, or is this people that have already got your pixel, your cookie from out there and they arrive at Comic-Con, whatever?
Of course.
And how, what's the, like, what comes first, the chicken or the egg?
Both ways, actually.
Okay.
Okay, so the first thing is that in Google, you have what's a geolocation specific targeting feature. Because everybody's on their phone nowadays, like 10 years ago it wasn't the same, you can actually go with almost not even a kilometer radius. Like I could literally draw a map around the trade show convention hall and say, target within this thing. That's it. Now what ends up happening is, yes, first thing, people need to be on your website first because you want their pixel to be captured. Now they enter this trade show booth. Oh, their pixel was captured, their cookie was captured. Now they're in there, they see the banner ads. Great, perfect. But in addition to that, what we have is we also have something called a lookalike audience. Google, Facebook, they know that myself, Josef Azam, I searched XYZ in the past. I ended up on this website. I went on this Facebook page. They know everything, okay? They don't know my name, but they know, well, they probably know my name, but they know everything. Now I walk into this trade show booth, okay? This show, and I see your pixel because I put it on the website. But John Smith, who also searched the convention hall, the location, the airport times, I never went on that website. But John Smith never went on that website. I'll say, because John Smith is so specific to Josef Azam, and he's also in this location, show him the ad also. So it's not just the people that went on your website. It starts with that base, and then you expand it out. So all of a sudden, John Smith, who's walking through the trade show hall, is like, oh, visit me at booth 254, I do this. Okay, click. And what we notice with trade shows in particular is that people will go to trade shows and they have one or two tasks to do, unless you're exhibiting, right? They go because they like to travel, they go to a hotel, they have company money, they go, they do their one meeting, and then all of a sudden they have their hands in their pocket. They're not sure, they go, they walk around. What this does is it helps mobilize people. Specifically if people are giving conferences or speeches and stuff, and we'll say, okay, we would do banner ads 15 minutes in this convention hall before this conference starts. And so it's a combination of the two. It probably, those people that do trade shows, without a doubt, the most cost-effective, successful marketing team. Because the cost is so low in terms of the ad spend dollars.
Perfect, thanks.
Yeah. And it also changes nothing too, if you're a business and you, there's a conference or convention that you're not exhibiting at, but you want to set up meetings, you can just literally create ads and links to book meetings there. Any other questions?
Or if you're a restaurant nearby.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Discount things, could be anything. It is that. It is that. It's the geolocation feature on social media and Google is really, really big and very, very important to use to your advantage and cost effective, right? Any other questions? Don't be shy. If you're shy, you can always email me afterwards too. If I can leave everybody with one thing, is that my goal with this meeting is obviously not to just dump a bunch of information on somebody where they get lost in everything. It's that all these platforms can work together, and that not only can these platforms work together, but they can work with the other marketing things that you or your companies are doing. Trade shows, events, conferences, meetings, they work very, very well. They mobilize people, and at the end of the day, you're tracking it. Digital marketing, there's not really much smokes and mirrors, right? You can't say, hey, like, oh, look at your front page, your full page ad in the Gazette, right? Like, what does that mean? I don't know what it means, right? There's no smokes and mirrors in this. It's, I put this in, I generated this. Everything is tracked. Everything is data driven. That's good. So if anybody has any questions, like I said, let me know. Please, there's so much food there.
We'll set up something to go.
Yeah, honestly, like take for your lunch, because and like I said, don't ever be shy. We're gonna send this thing is being recorded, so we'll send it to everybody so they have it as well. And like I said, every 6 weeks we're gonna be doing this. That's our goal for 2020 as a company, is to keep doing this and keep educating. And if any of you have any topics that you want me to cover in particular, send it to us, because we want to give you guys as much information as possible.